Welcome to the Health Coach Nation podcast. My name is Hailey Rowe, and I'm a sales and marketing coach and LinkedIn lead generation service provider. I work with health, life, and mindset coaches and online service-based business owners to help them get more sales, shift their time to the client-generating activities instead of just the busy work, and overcome that social media overwhelm. Let's get into the show. If you're ready to take on your next paying clients, I have good news. My free 4 Basics of Client Attraction and How to Stand Out class is live at haileyrowe.com/client-attraction. In the class, you're going to learn the top 2 traits I recommend for most coaches and entrepreneurs if they really want to turn this into a career. You're going to learn how you can build demand for your services and stop getting crickets on your posts. You're going to learn the sales roadmap I used to improve my sales conversion rate and help my clients do the same. And you're going to learn so much more. So go to haileyrowe.com/client-attraction and get your copy of the class today.
Speaker, author, life and business strategist with over 30 years experience. And throughout his career, he's built 8 businesses across 4 industries. And he has quite the story. He's coached over 20,000 individuals. And his journey is marked by transformative life experiences, including a 100-day water fast, an 8-figure bankruptcy. And both of these things have shaped his philosophy on resilience, personal branding, and being a purpose-driven entrepreneur. So, Pascal, thank you for being here. I definitely want to dive more into some of these life experiences you've had, but why don't we just kick off with what drew you to entrepreneurship and tell us about some of the industries you've worked in?
Sure. Thank you for having me, first of all. Always a pleasure about talking about the past, but I love very much to talk about the future and about how we all can change the situation we are in right now to the good. But I was in the health industry for years. Like I had a franchise in Switzerland with 14 branches. We work with a lot of self-inflicted problems and civilization diseases, how I call it. It was all about self-responsibility. That was my main lesson there. It's not like treating all those symptoms and all these problems. Teaching human beings how to be responsible in life was basically my lesson for it. But that led me to another perception if it comes to entrepreneurship in general. I believe we all have lessons in one area of life that we can then apply in all areas of life somehow if we really reflect on it. But health industry is one of the main industries I was working in. And then, of course, marketing and personal branding is what we do today, because I just believe that so many entrepreneurs out there have the potential, they have the gift, they have something special, they have, like everybody's talking about, the value that creates the world that you and I and our kids probably want to live in, but they just don't know how to do all the stuff that comes with entrepreneurship, because that was not the reason why they actually started the business. It was their passion and gift, and that's something we can kind of support and fix with a strong, authentic, I call it, true personal brand.
Amazing. So yeah, let's talk about that. Someone who has a passion and they're so excited about starting their business, but then they realize they have to do the business stuff too. They have to market themselves. They have to put out their offerings. What do you say to someone like that who's like, I just want to coach, or I just want to work with clients. I want to skip all that, marketing stuff. It doesn't resonate with me, blah, blah, blah. What would you say to someone like that?
I always recommend them, you need to understand the basics. You need to have a foundational knowledge that allows you to delegate smart. I think we have options today, internet, VAs, for little money. We can outsource stuff. But I'm a believer in we need to understand the foundation. And I think that's what you experience too, right? And a lot of coaches out there. I have that literally for years. People go in for their passion. And the number one reason why they go in, it's actually 3 main reasons. They want to provide value. They want to have more time and more money. And with time, they don't have money and they don't have time because they have to do all the stuff they didn't want to do, but they realized on the path, I have to do it. It's part of the business. And before they know it, their passion shrink down to 20% activity, and the 80% that they don't like take over, and entrepreneurship and the dream becomes a nightmare. So my recommendation is always like understand the basic and stay focused. For me, it's literally all these ideas. I need a blog, I need a newsletter, I need a webinar, I need a landing page, I need all the social media. Like, no, you don't. You need one reliable lead generation source, one reliable funnel, one offer, focus and consistency until that one thing work. And then you don't have all that things that makes life horrible. And if we understand that foundation, we can then easily hire someone who support us in the areas that they are just better.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And I do hear from a lot of entrepreneurs, I want to have all these different offers right away, like a group program and a membership and private. And, when I first started, I was just doing private, and then my group program naturally came to be because of all the private coaching I had done. I had already made the curriculum for the group program. And so it kind of naturally happened, but it didn't do that until I was like fully ready. And I think a lot of people try to jump around. So how does somebody, when you say, okay, you need to have one main offer, one main funnel, and one main lead gen platform, how does one decide what that is? Because there are so many options, and I think they get overwhelmed with all the options.
I love that question because literally everybody is in that same boat, I guess. For me, it's passion. What do you truly love to do? What can you not do? Like, that's your thing. And then we need to find a way on how to do that in a way that it generates money, because this is where we shine. This is where we just can be who we truly are. And this is where, for me, personal branding comes in. And stay away from all these shiny objects. I mean, there are so many people with so many ideas and opinions. And if we start to focus on that stuff, of course, we get confused and frustrated. But if we actually say, okay, let's cut that stuff off, and I call it the contribution finder. What can I do better than anybody else? What can I not do? Where am I very good at? And then how can I turn that one thing into money? Because the market demand that. There's a market demand. And that's another thing that I believe is super important, to let the market decide. There are many ways on how to ask the market. They give us exactly what we need to give them. What do they want? Instead of coming up with all these ideas, because I believe it is good. I believe this is what they need. We need to give them what they want because they don't know what they need yet. That's part of the coaching transformation, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, taking feedback and hearing what people want and need. Now, when it comes to lead gen and a funnel, what if someone's like, okay, I know I love private coaching. I know I have this great offer. I put together this thing I feel really excited about. But then when it comes to the lead gen, nothing excites them. Oh, I have to post, or I have to send connections on LinkedIn. I have to go speak somewhere. What do they do to get themselves more aligned and excited about the marketing process?
That's I believe, one of the most important things that I've learned when I started to speak. I think if we have that feeling we are too much in our own head, it's too much about ourselves, and we need to realize that I always like to turn away the phrase that everybody knows, what is in it for me? And that's why we do business. That's why we do all that stuff. We need the leads. We need all those things. That's why we do it. So what's in it for me? If we turn that away and say, okay, what's in me for it? Then it becomes an obligation. Like, I need to do the outreach in order to have more impact. I need to engage in order to have more impact. That's the only way. Communicate, build trust, engage with your audience, because at the end, you need that engagement in order to have the impact that we want to have as entrepreneurs to be the change. So I think it's really the shift from why do I not like it? And most likely we are just too much focused about ourselves instead of them, our potential clients or audience.
So true. I say the same thing about when you get nervous, like when my clients get nervous to go live or something, you're in your head thinking about you instead of focusing on the audience, focusing on the crowd. What do they want to hear? How are you helping them, engaging them? Yeah, and when you're thinking about someone outside of yourself, it's harder to get nervous, I find. But I love the way you answered that. And when it comes to someone who, like yourself, who has had an 8-figure bankruptcy, which I would love to dive in a little bit more too. But I'm gonna assume that you've had feelings where you feel like things aren't moving fast enough, or you feel like all of that for why bother, all of that led to this bankruptcy or something like that. So how does someone, and actually based on your bio, you've turned that into a win and how you've developed a growth mindset and things like that. But for somebody who's listening who feels like things are going so slow, or I'm doing the things, but nothing's an overnight success, what would you say to them to keep going when they're not necessarily seeing right away the instant gratification?
Mm-hmm. I recommend to get out of the frame. Like, we are in that picture, and the reason why we feel that way is because we already see the result. We already see the vision. We achieve that in our head already. We know exactly what we do, why we do, and how it's going to look like. And then we start to create a wrong perception of the whole. It's a process. So we naturally want to skip the process. So everything that happens appears as slow or complicated, or it didn't work. I think to really get out of that picture, of that frame, and look at the whole picture and see not just the gray cloud on the top left, but actually, hey, hold on, like the other 80% of the picture is actually blue sky and the sun. To realize that, I think, gives us the true perception and the process. And another thing I recommend is really to enjoy the process, because at the end, we build something. We build sometimes a legacy. We build a sustainable business. We build generational wealth. We build a foundation that we want it to be stable. And we have the choice. Is that roadblock that appears as a roadblock really a roadblock, or is that stone in my way the next building block for a stable foundation? I think that's perception and the choice that we have. And to really look at every stone that appears as a roadblock and say, okay, what can I learn from this? Why could that stone be a building block for my stable foundation? For me personally, it's the key. So it doesn't really matter. It's just the next step, and I know I need to go on.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And so focusing on what you're building, even if it's not, having the amount of people seeing it that you want yet, you're still building things every single day, creating value in the world. And I would love to know, when you, went through your bankruptcy, first of all, what happened and how did you turn that into a lesson, or what was kind of your philosophy that was built from that?
The main reason was I made mistakes in choices. We had a lot of contracts going on. We wanted to create 500 branches in the DACH area, Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. We had the fundings. We have all the agreements. And the main based on that, because everything was agreed verbally, and I knew this is a very reliable person and organization, I signed all the contracts, and the day before, the main investor, I met the main investor the day before he passed away. So I actually called him the day before, because it was a 7-hour drive to Germany, and he missed one of the meetings like a few weeks before that, or he had a double booking. I thought, like, I better call the guy the night before so it's not going to happen again. And then nobody picked up. And then the morning before I left, I checked my email and got an email from his wife. And she said, "Dear Mr. Bachmann, I'm sorry to tell you, but my husband passed away yesterday night."
Oh,
And that was a punch. I was in that moment, I was like, okay, am I disappointed, mad, frustrated because I know I'm going downhill now, or the guy passed away, and for his wife, empathy and compassion and all that stuff. But that moment was just like, I knew I signed contracts, I had personal reliabilities or liabilities, and I just knew, okay, now, you need to file bankruptcy. And then the double punch happened, actually. Within 3 months, a guy that I invested all my real estate and all my retirement money within a 3 months window, that guy went also bankrupt.
Oh, wow.
And like everything was gone within 3 months. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah. It was no fun, but I decided to just take the emotions and go through it. And I knew back then, don't fight against it. Just, it's like a wave. It's like the sea, it's coming, and it's you take it and you let it go. And I knew that I didn't do anything for 3 months. I just wanted to stay away and meditate and go to the gym and kind of be frustrated and mad at the world with the knowing that it's never them, it's always me, it's my perception, my choice. Again, how do I react on these situations? But I lived the moment, which I believe was important. But then to come to your second question, why did I learn, or how did I turn that into my biggest lesson? I learned in that moment that I'm capable of so much more than what I believe, that everything at the end is just a moment. And again, it's all perception. We give every single situation and moment or thing meaning. And I just went into that space of nothing have a meaning unless I give it to it. And I just decided to stay neutral and don't make things bigger than they actually are, because I went to sleep at night. I got up in the morning, the sun came up, the moon was shining, I had enough to eat. It was literally just something that I could turn into the worst thing that affect my life, my whole being, my family. And I knew that, and that reflection actually showed me how much more we can do based on shifting perception, beliefs, and making choices. So that was a big one for me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And what's so interesting, whenever I hear about entrepreneurs who've lost it all, or, whatever, it sounds to me like, because you were the kind of person who built that once, you had that maybe assurance that you had those skills that you could use again and you could rebuild. And I think that confidence, like knowing that you went through all of that and you survived, probably carries you very well nowadays in all these different businesses. And what were some of maybe the beliefs that were formed about you or your business after all of that? When you were saying that you shifted your perception, what were maybe some of those beliefs now that you really cultivate?
The funny thing is, I never doubted that I will do it again, even bigger. That was just within me, and that was not even a question. It was more, I'm tired. Like, really? Again? Like, to start from scratch again? That's why I took the break. I just didn't want to start again. I was just literally exhausted. But the main change, or the shift in perception, was to listen to my gut feeling and be careful to never, ever expect everybody around me to do what I want, or for it to be the way I want it to be. There are just a lot of things we cannot control. We can control what we do, how we think, act, and feel, how we choose to react to whatever comes across our way, and that's about it. And to rely on external things and bank on it, it's just something I never did again. I just keep it neutral. I keep it open. And but that was the biggest thing, to not kind of, almost for me, it feels like pushing away that part of responsibility. Like, I took care of it. I have the connection, the contract design, like it's out of my way. It's never really. And we shouldn't rely on that, or at least I don't do that anymore.
Gotcha. So it sounds like personal responsibility and realizing that, everything you do or what's going on in your life, you play a part in, and to, think about what maybe could go wrong, or how would I want to react in different scenarios. And you also did, and in your bio, it says you did a $100-day water fast. So I'm curious why, and tell us more about that experience.
Yeah, that was something I believe it was end of October 23. I took a shower and it just came through me. It wasn't a conscious decision. Something told me 100-day water fast. I went to the kitchen to my wife, said, hey, I'm going to probably not eat for 100 days. She went like, okay, go for it. I support you. And then I started without any intention. Like, I just felt like I got it. That's just what I have to do. So I followed my intuition. And then along the way, I started to realize how impossible that is in the perception of my surroundings. Like, everybody says, there's no way you're going to do that. Are you crazy? Like, people die not eating 40, 50 days. And I started to realize how extreme that actually is. And then I came up with my reasons. During the first 4 to 6 weeks. And there are actually 3 main reasons that I decided. The first one is I wanted to reset my whole body for the next 50 years to come. I'm turning 50 over next month, and I knew all the parasites can die. They allowed to leave me. Clean blood, clean liver, clean organs in general. Like, get out of me. I'm going to rebuild. That was the one thing, my personal health. Then the second thing was I don't like the word to prove to society it is possible, but more to demonstrate what is possible against all the beliefs out there. I went to the doctor, give them my blood work, and they were like, why are you smiling? Like, you do 10,000 steps a day, you look healthier than I do. You look happy, your blood work is perfect. It is not possible. How is that? Like, how do you do that? And my explanation to point number 2, or reason number 2, is I just believe that it is our intention why we do what we do. Hunger strike, for example, if they die after 50, 60, 70 days not eating, they have a very clear intention. If you guys don't do what I want you to do, I'm not going to eat until I die, and it's going to be your fault. That's the outcome usually. So it's not the fact that creates the outcome, it's the belief in the fact. I had a completely different belief. I said, reset my body. I'm going to demonstrate it's possible. I have everything I need through meditation, sun, water, and so forth. That was my intention, and that's the outcome I experienced. And then number 3 is to not believe authorities, everything they say, just because they are authorities. I believe, like, if we look at our health experts, many of them, not your audience, but many of them, they're just not healthy. Like, hello, like all these doctors, I had some of them who told me what I can and what not, and be careful, and emergency and all that stuff. And I thought, like, go look in the mirror. Like, you telling me what to do? I'm 30 years in health. I was a professional athlete. Like, really? And by the way, why do you believe what you believe? Because someone told you, you read it in the book, you learned it when you study, and never question where is that belief or fact rooted in. They just take it and believe it. So that's basically the three main reasons I came up with.
Wow, that is so interesting. What was your first meal when you broke your fast?
It's funny because I catch myself like all these beliefs, right? Like the belief and the intention determines your outcome. It's not the fact, it's the belief in the fact. And I was discussing with my wife and say, hey, probably we should very careful refeeding, like because we don't have the acid in our stomach that is able to break down the food and all that stuff. We need to build acid. So I planned right down first just green juicing, then smoothies, soups, and so forth, until I was writing and said, like, what am I doing? Like, am I not just in the next belief of myself? Let's try it out. I'm probably not going to die. So what I did, and that's not a recommendation for anybody, but I just really wanted to try it. On day 102 was actually the first day I ate. My wife came home from her mom with a bunch of Thai food, and I eat about 2.5 to 3 pounds of steak, chili, Thai food, spicy stuff, fish, like rice, like cheese, sour cream, eggs, everything between 9 and 11 at night. And then I went straight to bed. And I slept like a baby with no problems at all, literally zero. That was a big surprise for myself.
That is so crazy, because that's like what everyone says not to do. Don't eat a huge meal right before. Wow. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we didn't even touch on personal branding, but we might even have to have you back or something. But tell us, how do you define personal branding?
A true personal brand for me is the expression of who you truly are as an individual. It's not about your product. It's not about your service. It's about you. Who are you? What are your core values? Why do you do what you do? What is your intention, your why? It's literally the human being. This is where trust is built. People trust people. People build relationships with people. It's all about the human aspect behind the service and products. And that's what we capture and write about and share with the world. And once Google knows who a person is, then we connect and tell basically Google, okay, that person is not just what we described. This is actually where he or she is an expert and authority. And then we start to build that online authority and positioning.
Awesome. And what would be for the listeners who want to have a takeaway here to start building their personal brand or getting clear on it? Any tips for them to get started?
Yes. What I recommend is to make 2 lists. All your ups in life, way back, and all your downs in life, because that's all part of who you truly are. To really sit down and maybe redefine the core values and also think about why is a core value a core value. For example, if someone have a core value of honesty, to really question that core value. Why is that a core value? Was I cheated on in the past and now it becomes a core value? In other words, I run away from something subconsciously, or is that something that draw me from within because it's a true core value? Same thing with being free, for example, freedom. Was I locked up as a child and grounded all the time, and I was not allowed to leave my room, and I go away from that subconscious pain, and now I believe it's a core value? Or is it really something within me that tells me freedom? Be like, to really have that discussion with yourself and say, okay, these are my ups, these are my downs, my core values. Where are they connected to my events in my business and life? And then to really be brave enough to write a story or tell someone to write a story based on these facts and then read it. And that's the first draft. where you have an authentic, true story about who you are, what you did, and probably why you did it. And that's the foundation of a personal brand that I recommend everybody to do.
Awesome. I love that. So this has been super enlightening. I love your focus on the power of our beliefs and how we can all do our passion, but you want to learn the basics, you want to get out there. And where can everybody stay connected with you after this episode?
The best way to learn more about me and what we do is strategyachievers.com. This is the personal branding site. PascalBachmann.com is my personal website where I go deeper into, I call it the core 4, health, mind, harmony, and wealth. So it's more holistic related. Or you just shoot me an email to my personal email, which is pascal@strategyachievers.com if you want to have a conversation.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you again for being.
Thanks so much for listening to this podcast. And if it's really helpful for you, I'd really appreciate if you share it and or leave a written podcast review. This tells the podcast sites that our show is useful and it will be promoted to more people that way. Thanks again.